Let's get back to emotional and mental intelligence. So, last week we talked about the fact that no one teaches us this stuff. Emotional and mental health is such a key part of our well being day to day. So, how to understand our swirling thoughts and feelings or emotions is so crucial because as we become more aware of our swirling thoughts and how we're feeling, we are then able to change how we're thinking and how we're feeling. Last week, we talked about some key mindfulness principles you can use to practice mindfulness. And this week, we're going to take a deeper dive on how to practice those tools to develop a toolkit that works for you. And for those of you wanting to be more confident in yourself and the decisions you make, which is what I heard from a lot of you, these tools can make a huge impact. Understanding what you're not confident about, thoughts and feelings that come up, and then working to change those. So for example, I used to hate my thighs. They were so big. I hated how jeans looked, shorts, short dresses. In being able to identify the thought that I'm hating how big my thighs are while looking in the mirror, I was able to work to bring self-compassion to my thoughts around it. I did an entire Brooks model worksheet and identified a thought that I could believe in. And somewhere along the way, right, thinking through my legs are super powerful and muscular and I wouldn't have been the soccer player I was without them, I gradually changed my thoughts from I'm hated on my thighs to I'm hated on my thighs and that's okay. So bringing that gentle compassion to it, to eventually over time getting to a place of, oh my gosh, my thighs are amazingly powerful and I love them. And don't get me wrong, I still have days when I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh, I don't know if I like my thighs. But now, like 85 to 90% of the time, I'm there. Like, I love it. I celebrate. So we can apply this sort of model to anything, whether it's around body image, like I just talked about my thighs, whether it's around how we feel about our job, whether it's how we feel around, day-to-day stressors that may come up, finding, my partner in life, all of those things we can apply these tools to. And to recap the key principles of the mindfulness model, and again, this is based on research and approaches from different folks like Tara Brach and Brooke Castillo that I love. Number one, your brain is not always right. Our primal brain, it's designed to survive and it'll fill our mind with doubt and look for shortcuts that don't help in the long run. So don't listen to everything that your brain is telling you. Number two, behind every feeling is a thought, and understanding that thought is key. Then we can start changing that thought. For example, I feel really anxious. What is the thought creating that anxiety? Well, I have a presentation tomorrow. I'm not sure I'm doing at work. Another example, oh, I feel sad. What is the thought creating that sadness? Oh, I'm sad I missed the concert, and then I'm sad I missed seeing my friend who was in town. There are thoughts behind all of our feelings. Number three, this takes time. Be patient and keep practicing. It can take months, years to form new pathways in our brains. So I really encourage you, be patient, keep sticking it out and trying these tools. And lastly, no, it's not always going to be 100% perfect. Our goal is really to feel better 85% of the time, as I mentioned with my thoughts on my thighs. So I really encourage you, we're not looking for perfectionism and everything to be perfect, but we're going to make it better most of the time. And here are the tools that we talked about last week. I'm really curious to know which ones you tried. We talked about meditation. We talked about a thought download, checking in with yourself, asking yourself, what am I unwilling to feel? I think that's such a good question. Or it really resonates with me when I'm doing those check-ins. We talked about a physical sensation download. So how is this emotion or feeling physically feeling in my body? I'm opening the door into this feeling of anxiousness, or I'm opening the door into this feeling of overwhelmment, if that's a word, being overwhelmed. And how does it physically feel my body with color, temperature, sensation, movement? We also talked about Brooks' model worksheet. So, identifying the thoughts behind our feelings and then walking through some exercises and questions to help us identify more positive thoughts, neutral or positive thoughts, that we can gradually work on replacing those negative thoughts with. Check out the worksheet reflection. You should see a worksheet that you can download. I encourage you to take a minute or two to fill it out. We have these couple different mindfulness tools that you could try out the past couple weeks. So, which tools did you try? How did it go? What was hard? What was easy? What came up for you? What do you want to try this week? Where do you want to go from here? Some examples could be around what you want to try or do differently this week. Maybe I want to meditate one more time than I did last week. Maybe I want to try a different guided meditation because that first one didn't really resonate with me. Maybe I want to try a new tool that I haven't tried yet from this list. Maybe I want to try doing one of these exercises at a different time of day because when I tried it last week, the timing was really hard and I got distracted. Maybe this week I want to turn off my phone so I'm not distracted. Or maybe this week I want to find a different place, a little bit more quiet. So think about, what do I want to try differently this week? I also want to share with you, based on your feedback, it sounds like these tools are really resonating with the team. So here's a quote straight from a fellow team member doing this workshop that says, "The past couple of days I was thinking about something that was really bugging me and it felt very big and heavy. Brooks' model worksheet really helped me reframe it." So I'm so glad to hear that some of these tools are helpful, and I definitely encourage you, if you haven't tried all the mindfulness tools yet, give them a try, see which ones stick. Now, I realize this slide has a lot of text, and normally when I'm doing PowerPoint slides, the less text, the better. But I wanted to compare the 5 different mindfulness tools side by side with more specifics around frequency, direction, and benefits. You can see this table on the site as well if you want to take a closer look, and I'm not going to go through every single box here. But when we're thinking about leveraging mindfulness tools on a daily and weekly basis, overall, I'd recommend aiming for about 15 minutes of work on yourself a day. And that could be meditating or using another tool that you see here. To give some more context, some days I spend more than 15 minutes doing some of these things. Other times I spend no time. So it varies, but 15 minutes or so a day is a great goal and a great starting spot. So let's jump into the table. So first of all, meditation is huge. I am a huge fan of meditation. You can see 2 different types here. We have a breathing meditation and an applied meditation. And I have some suggested frequencies here. I will get into it in a minute, but I usually meditate 4 to 5 times a week, I would say. And usually 15 to 25 minutes, but I worked my way up. So for those of you who aren't meditating at all, right, or haven't done that yet, if you want to get started, just do a minute, just do 2 minutes. You can start small and build from there. So that breathing meditation is really about focusing on your breath in your body. So it's a way to be present, and we want to sit comfortably and close your eyes, really focusing on your breath going in and out and letting thoughts just gently come and go. Everyone gets lost in the trance of thought. Thoughts are going to pop up. And just when you notice that you're thinking, gently bring yourself back to concentrating on your breath. What's amazing about meditation, there are so many benefits, and there's a lot of research now about those benefits. We're developing our ability to be present and more in the moment. And as the research says, meditators are happier, they're less stressed. It's shown to have more significant benefits than taking antidepressants. There's so much amazing research now about the benefits of meditation. There's also something I call applied meditation. And this is similar but different than our breathing meditation. So it's similar in the fact that we want to sit comfortably and close our eyes. We want to focus on our breath for a few moments to really get centered and get in the zone. And then it's about checking in with yourself. What is coming up for me? How am I feeling? What am I unwilling to feel? What does this room of sadness look like? What does this room of anxiousness look like? What does this room of being overwhelmed look like? So it's a great way to check in with yourself and understand what is really truly going on with me. And this type of meditation deepens our ability to identify thoughts and feelings, and it deepens our ability to understand intuition and what truly serves you. And we haven't gone through this yet, but there's another tool we'll walk through, which is, I think, probably my favorite mindfulness tool. And it's meeting your 80-year-old self. So meeting your guru. And I use applied meditation a lot of times to talk to my 80-year-old self and ask her questions. And I know it may seem a little bit out there, but it's a wonderful tool that you can use to really get in touch with your intuition and what truly serves you. Thirdly, you'll see here a thought download. So this is something I'll do if I notice when my mind is spinning, when I'm feeling a negative emotion, if I'm anxious, stressed, sad, for example, and I write down every thought that comes into my brain for 10 minutes. No filters, no judgment, just write it down. That pen to paper is magic, as I say. And then fourthly, here you'll see that physical sensation download. So I don't necessarily do this a set number of times a week or recommend doing a set number of times a week. It's really just kind of what comes up for you. So some weeks I may do it once or twice. Other weeks I don't really feel the need to. It just kind of depends on what's going on. But it can be great to do when you're feeling a negative emotion, and really follow that worksheet. So how is this feeling? How is this feeling physically feeling in my body? Color, let's say I'm feeling frustrated. So it's a red-orange like ball of energy, and I can feel it creeping up my neck and in the back of my shoulders, and it's warm, kind of hot, and it's, like a swirling ball of energy, right? So what is that emotion? What does that feeling physically feel like? And what's so cool about this is it's deepening our ability to move through negative emotions faster versus resisting them. So our inclination is to resist emotions, be like, oh, like I don't feel frustrated, or I'm not going to think about why I feel frustrated. I want to be happy. And by actually opening the door into frustration, into our negative emotions, and being curious about how it feels in our body and what it looks like, we're actually working through those negative emotions faster so we can feel happier and lighter, quicker and faster. It's pretty mind-boggling. And then lastly, Brooks' model. And again, not really a set number of times a week I do this. Sometimes it's maybe 2 or 3 times. Other weeks I don't do it at all. But when you're really noticing a negative thought or feeling and want to work through it, again, that putting that pen to paper is absolute magic. So I really encourage you, follow the worksheet. What is the thought that I'm having? What feeling is that triggering? And working down from there on that Brooks model worksheet. And what's so cool about this is it's deepening our ability to identify thoughts behind our feelings. And what it does is it empowers us to gradually change those thoughts to feel better and feel lighter. And I do want to preface, and I know I've talked about this before, half of life is still going to be hard. And half of life we're still going to, feel the tough stuff. So I'm not necessarily offering a way to feel happy all of the time, because that's not realistic and things are going to come up, right? But what I am offering is a way to move through those negative thoughts or emotions a lot faster. And what I've noticed is by really using these tools, when I am happy or in more of a positive emotion state, I feel so much lighter and I feel so much better and I have so much more energy. So it really brings a fantastic feeling, a different feeling when you are feeling very positive and happy and feeling lighter. Here's an example of what I do weekly, if this is helpful for you. And it's not completely structured or defined. Some weeks I meditate more or less than this, but I'm consistently getting about at least 4 days of a 15 to 25 minute meditation. And I actually meditate on my commute down on the train. And I do both breathing meditations as well as applied meditations, and really trying to check in with myself on how I'm feeling and what's excuse me, and what's coming up for me. And then again, depending just on what's going on, anywhere from 0 times a week to maybe 4 times a week, I notice what negative feelings or thoughts are coming up. And I usually explore and try to move through those emotions by doing a physical sensation download and using Brooks' model. And again, that pen to paper I think, is total magic. So I have my Apple Notes that I use on my phone, and it syncs to my phone and computer and iPad. Some folks really like to use a journal and like handwrite it in, whatever works for you. And then I also want to share with you some example environments on where you can get these tools. Where you can use these tools. And I'd recommend somewhere quiet where you can have a moment to yourself. And some examples could be, could be during your commute if you have free hands, like on the train or the bus. Could be at night before you go to bed. Sometimes I'll kind of lie in my bed, taking a few deep breaths, kind of check in with myself at the end of the day before I go to bed. For others, they love doing it in the morning, like right when they wake up. I have one client that I work with, and her alarm goes off, and she literally touches the alarm and like rolls off her bed on the floor right next to her bed, and does a 15-minute meditation check-in every day. For other folks, you can do it at lunch if you're walking outside, have a nice park bench you can sit at, kind of whatever works for you and your schedule. So I encourage you to see what really works for you. Not everything's going to change at once. So you can start with my routine and tweak from there. I definitely encourage you, start small. If you don't meditate at all, just start with 1 minute a day, or try 10 minutes 1 or 2 times a week and gradually build from there. In the coming weeks, we'll learn more about sustainable behavior change and how to approach that. And we know that, but what I want to offer here is that sustainable behavior change, so making gradual, smaller changes over time, is overall much more successful in helping build healthy habits that actually stick. So that's why I say, if you don't meditate at all, just try to do 1 minute a day. We're not trying to do 20 minutes every day if we're not meditating at all right now. Or be like, oh, I don't need to meditate every day. I'm just going to do 10 minutes once or twice this week.